What's going on, guys? It's your boy Ethan. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to another video on the channel. I'm going to go over just a ton of hands that I have from a session from a while ago that I actually have hand footage of, like actual video recording footage. So gonna be interesting, gonna be different because it's gonna be a different style of video. It's actually gonna take me a little bit longer to edit and process because it's just a higher video production quality and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a little bit longer for me to edit, but hopefully just leave a like if you guys like these kind of videos, and I'll do my best to record some more stuff like this because I'll just do more voiceovers, and I think the video is gonna look a whole lot better with just like table footage instead of me just talking about the hands and making the graphics. It's a little bit different because I'm not really allowed to record, so I can't actually like have my phone up and show like the board and show the flop and all that stuff, but it is at least better than me and my face like this talking in front of a camera. So if you guys want to see more type of videos like this, please leave a like. Really do appreciate the support, and we got a ton of hands to get into, so we might as well just get into them.
You're having a good hair day. At least you got that going for you.
Your others.
Yeah, I know. It was that don't even have time to take a shower. Just put the hair up and get in the car. Right?
Well, you're lucky if I
Hey, you stinky hippie. Yeah, showering's overrated. I only take 2 a day.
So I just wanted to share a little bit about the banter that was going on at the table and just show a little bit of the raw footage that happened pre-flop in this hand. So to go over what happened, I have ace queen of hearts in middle position with about 500 in my stack. There's 2 limpers to me. I make it $15, and the player on my left, who's a 1-2 reg, Adam, I don't know if you watched the vlog, but that's you and your voice. You call. Loose big blind player calls as well, and an early position player who limped jammed for $40. So kind of weird where there's a lot of dead money in the middle, and I want to isolate to a certain degree, but also increase the size of the pot and raise for value and get a lot of the money in pre. Because, well, obviously I have a pretty strong hand here. So when it folds to me with an early position player jammed for $40, we're going to see a flop regardless, but I don't want to see the flop for I don't want to see the flop 4 ways in there. So I decide to ISO. I make it 129 or 140, 130, something like that. I don't really remember, to be honest. And both players, Adam and the blue big blind player, folds. So we're just going to go to showdown and see a flop and see the runouts. He has queen jack offsuit, and obviously I have him crushed here. When the flop comes ace jack 3, 7 on the turn, and another ace on the river, I scoop up that pot there, and we take it down. Next hand here, I am in middle position with ace 10 of diamonds, once again about 500 in my stack. I open up to $15 and only the button calls, so we'll go heads up to a flop. I mean, flop comes queen 9 ace rainbow. Pretty good board for me in my perceived range, so I decide to check out of position, and he checks as well. So checking for deception, looking to c-bet on the turn on any card, obviously. Turns an ace, so pretty good card for me and him as well. Hoping to get some value from a queen, and I bet $15. He makes the call. River is a 7, so pretty confident I have the best hand here, obviously, and I think I get called by a queen a lot of the time, so I bet $30. He calls once again and mucks, so get some pretty good value there with my ace 10.
Well, let's show it.
Next hand in the big blind, I have pocket kings with about 500 in front of me as well. And there's 2 limpers to a middle position player who makes it $12. Fairly small bet, fairly small raise when there's 2 limpers in there. And the player on his left called as well. So when the action's onto me, I think about all the dead money in the middle, and I could size up pretty big or small or in the middle. I decided to just I could size up a little bit bigger to $60 out of position, but I decided to only go to 50, trying to get at least 1 caller. I mean, there's those 2 limpers in there that has yet to act yet, and the middle player pre-flop raiser. So hoping to ISO, maybe get 1 or 2 callers, but unfortunately everyone folds and we take down the pot there. This next hand, I am once again in the big blind with ace jack of clubs. There are a total of 5 limpers to me, and I decide to make it $15. Fairly small looking back onto it. I like a bigger sizing of probably 20. Anywhere between 15 and 20, like those weird $17, $18 raises, really doesn't accomplish a whole lot. And I think 20, the round number, makes it a little bit more attractive and allows for a lot more callers. But as played, I make it $15. And there's 2 callers, so I did get to ISO a good amount of people out there. So we're going 3 ways to a flop. 2 callers in middle position and hijack, so I'm out of position here. Flop comes ace queen 6 rainbow, and when I'm first to act, I check this a lot of the time. I obviously can rep the ace, but I don't love repping cards or my perceived range when I also have showdown value, and also it's a multi-way pod, so someone easily could have an ace. If it was heads up, I think I see bet this a lot of the time, but because it's a rainbow board, because I have middle pair and a mediocre kicker, I can check this a lot. In the turns, when the action checks around, though, I think I could have the best hand a lot of the time. Someone might not have an ace. I'm really confused as to why an ace would check in this position, in this spot here, but regardless, the turn's an 8 of diamonds. It brings in the backdoor flush draw, and I'm first to act again, so I'll bet $20 for value, expecting any 2 diamonds to call, and I'm fairly certain that everyone has not. I'm fairly confident at this point that someone may not actually have an ace, but when both players call, the plan changes a little bit, where I'm just gonna check down any river to get the showdown and kind of see how things go. So river's a deuce, the flush draw bricks out, still a middle pair here, and I check, and action checks around once again. Hijack has ace 9 of diamonds. He scoops the pot. The middle position player had queen 10. So I honestly would have loved a raise from the hijack. I think he just missed out on some value there with basically having the world top pair and the redraws to the nut flush. But we lose that one there, and we go on to the next one. This one is quite an interesting doozy pot, so we'll talk about it. I'm on the button, 9-7 of spades. There's 4 limpers to me, and I decide to limp on the button in position with one of my favorite hands, actually. And the small blind, who's a pretty good reg, 1-2 reg here, Adam, once again, he makes it $15. And I think, once again, it's a fairly small sizing for 15 with so much dead money in the middle. So a loose middle position player that I really want to get involved with calls, and I overcall as well. I think going 3 ways to a flop with 9-7 is fairly exploitative, but when the middle position player calls, I have to be in there, especially in position with those 2 players. And the flop is not too shabby. It's 6, 7, 10 with 2 spades. Middle pair, flush draw, backdoor straight draw, got a whole lot, or not even a back, I got a gutter ball actually. I misread that. So there's a whole lot out there that just crushes my range. The small blind leads out for $35, and the middle position player ends up making the call as well. So, I mean, when they both are in there, there's no reason for me to raise just yet. I'm in position. We'll see a turn, and if it helps, then we can definitely attack. And I decide to call, so we're still 3 ways to a turn, and the turn is pretty nice. It is more than ideal. It's a 7. So we got trips with a bunch of redraws out there, so we by far have the best hand, I would assume, almost 10 times out of 10. Small blind bets $50, which is pretty damn small considering how big the pot is at this point, and the middle spoon player called as well. So not really sure what's going on. I think people could have higher spades draws than me, and with such a strong hand, I'm gonna have to try and raise for value. So I raised fairly small, I think, trying to get both of them to call. Actually, I raised to 150, just trying to increase the size of the pot. We're all fairly deep. I know I have around 600-700, and they both actually, I think, cover me to a certain degree. And so just trying to increase the size of the pot, raise big enough for both of them to call. So the small blind player calls, middle position player folds. And really wanted that middle position player in there, but regardless, still have the best hand against a good small blind player. River's a 6. The middle position player ends up freaking out, just immediately freaks out because I think she had a 6, It was very obvious that she folded a 6, and basically, like, you can just see that she's pissed. The small blind checks to me, and I lied about how big my stack was. I jammed for 293 total, and he tanks for a long time. I think I can rep a bricked spades draw. I've played with this individual a lot, and I don't have too many 7s in my range given how I play. I don't think. I'm not too sure, but I really tried to get max value. I think I could bet a small bet of like 100, 200, maybe another 150 bet, something like that. But regardless, my stack was so small considering the size of the pot, so I decided to just jam, and he folds his queens face up. So good fold on him, having that overpair. Just knew he was beat somehow, especially on a double paired board. It's actually a pretty bad card for him, but I wish I didn't fold out that middle position player, because I definitely would have doubled up on her. But it is what it is. Pretty nice hand by me, and I'll scoop up that decent sized pot. So the next hand we'll go over, I have aces in the cutoff with about 450 in front. At this point in the session, just haven't been running too well. I don't think I'm playing too great either, but there's 3 limpers to me, and I decided to make it $15, and we get 2 callers in early position. And the flop comes 7, 8, 10 with 2 diamonds, so definitely not the most ideal board I want with aces. Obviously, it crushes any early position limp range, so super connected. And when it checks to me, I think I definitely just have to c-bet this every time. I c-bet $20, and the big blind ends up making the call. Turn comes the queen of clubs, so once again, big blind, he checks, and once again, I still have to bet in this board. Too strong to do anything else but bet, obviously. And I bet 45, and he calls again as well fairly quickly. So at this point, I mean, I think it could be beat sometimes, but he could still be on a bunch of draws. The river, though, is probably just a terrible card for me. It's the 3 of diamonds. I don't have the ace of diamonds as well, so he leads out for $95, and I just tank for a while. So far, this player has been playing super well, to be honest. He's been chipping up a ton. He has a monster stack in front of him, and when he leads out here, I mean, he's an older gentleman, and I don't think he'll bluff a lot of the time here. And I just had like a funny feeling throughout the entire hand, so I was going with my read, going with my gut. And you can hear at the end of this video, I'll just show the raw audio too, that I just asked him, like, if I fold here, you want to show or whatever, or something like that, whatever. And I ended up tanking and just folding face up, and he shows me the bluff ace jack offsuit with the ace of diamonds. So he played that well, outplayed me there in that hand, unfortunately, and I showed that I folded aces like a complete idiot. So it is what it is. You're running that good, and I'm running that bad. I think that's what it is. If I show, will you show?
Yeah. Sure.
After that hand, we get another premium hand in the big blind with ace king of clubs. There's 3 limpers to the button, who makes it $20. Something I really like to see. So when the small blind folds, I decide to 3-bet to 60, and he makes the call. Flop comes king 10-10. I'm out of position. Pretty good board for me, so I decide to check, and he checks it back. The turn's the jack of hearts, so there's a backdoor flush draw out there now, and definitely not the most ideal card I want to see, but regardless, I have to bet for value, so I make a $50 bet, and he makes the call. The turn's another king, so we bowed up here, which is very interesting. I think I could get value from pocket jacks, maybe, who hates that runouts, or even a 10. So I bet 125, but he ends up folding. So at the end of the day, I think I might have lost a lot of value checking that flop. I should c-bet that all the time. It's super weird. It's very similar to the hand that I played in Macau, where I had ace king and flop comes king queen queen, and I check it again. I think that's definitely a leak in my game that I need to just man up and c-bet that, and not try to play it tricky, and just play it straightforward, get value, get money, get paid. But unfortunately, that's not what I did here once again, so definitely something to take a look at. But that's how that hand played, and we took it down. Here in the button, 4 or 5 of hearts, definitely a hand that I love playing suited connectors here. So there's 1 limp to the hijack, who makes it $15. I'm in position and decide to 3-bet to 45. Especially on a 1-2 table and with suited connectors. I love taking the more aggressive route and 3-betting a lot of my suited connectors. Just having that polarized range whenever I do 3-bet here. So it folds to him and he makes the call. The flop is probably ideal for us. It's Jack 9-3 all hearts. We flop the baby flush. Definitely very vulnerable though if another heart does come, because I'm beat a lot of the time. And he checks. I bet $60 and he lays it down. So I'll take that all the time, getting some value pre-flop and flopping the flush. And yeah, not going to complain about that too much. It's just fairly straightforward. I love 3-betting my suited connectors and having a wider 3-betting range, especially on weaker 1-2 tables. This last hand I'll go over, I don't have footage of, but definitely wanted to throw it in there because it defined my session a good amount. You'll see why when I go over the hands. So pretty important for me to add this in to wrap up the video here. So we are on the button with pocket 8s without 600 in front, and there's a straddle on the hijack. So folds to me. I open at $20 on the button, and we get 2 callers, early position and middle position player. Then the low jack raises to 75. Pretty small, considering there's $60 in the middle, so not too sure why he raised that small, but I decide to call here and flat, and everyone else folds. So we're heads up to a 3-bet pot flop of 10-7-7 with 2 spades. He leads out and bets $100, and it's interesting spot just thinking about his perceived range. He hasn't been playing too many hands, to be honest, so when he 3-bets here, he's got to be pretty strong. And Jesus Christ, what is this fly? Oh my god. So it's interesting and weird, but it's a flop that doesn't necessarily hit my range, but it's a pretty good flop for my specific hand here with 8s. So I decide to call. The turn's another 7, and he just leads out and jams for $402. And I have a real decision to make now. It's just super interesting. He hasn't been playing too many hands, and he seems like a relatively tight player, but when he jams for this much, over a kind of an over pot jam, it makes it seem super polarized. Immediately I think that he has queens plus, queens, kings, aces. It can make a lot of sense, but I'm just not sure why he's doing that, because he doesn't get value from me at all unless I have like pocket 10s or something weird, because I feel like any better would call here in this spot. And I tank for a long time because it's a pretty big bet, and it's weird because it doesn't make a lot of sense. What makes sense is like ace king trying to push me off, but once again he's been very not passive, but very tight and conservative with his money and with his bet sizing through the whole session, because I've played with him a ton. I've been playing for about 10 hours, or 6 hours, however long it was. So I would assume like a hand like queens or kings or aces, whatever, they know they have the best hand 9 times out of 10. They would just bet like 250 or something like that, or bet 200 or bet 150, something weird to just extract value. But he jammed for 400 total, and I just ended up talking myself into a call. I started tanking and saying I should fold, and then as time progressed and I started just thinking more like, what the hell is going on? Like only ace king would realistically make this bet to just push me off this hand. And yeah, I decided to make the hero call. Bad hero call. He flips over pocket kings, and the river's a deuce, no help, and we lose that one. So it's a pretty costly mistake, like a $600 mistake, and I get stacked. He just barely covered me, and it is what it is. That's unfortunate to run into a spot like that. So I was gonna say I'd rack up, but I don't have chips because I got stacked there. So that was a pretty big mistake. Something that someone told me, Kyle, if you're still watching the vlogs, mentioned that raising on the flop, a min raise up to $200 after its $100 bet on the flop to see where I would be an interesting play. I took that into consideration thinking about it. I don't know what you guys think about doing that. It's just it's not something I ever even thought about min raising to see where he was at, because I think if I min raise and he calls or he shoves or whatever, I can easily get away from it and lose less. But once again, I think I get away from that a lot of the time. But it's wanted to be a hero. No one likes a hero, and I paid the price for it. So that's how the session ended up. I played for 6 hours, lost 700 because of that specific hand, basically. So like I said, it was a pretty session defining hand, I might say, because that's how my session ended. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.